Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and this is going to be my April half wrap up. So we're almost halfway through the month and I've read a bunch of books that I would rather not hang on to for a whole month or try to remember for a whole month. So I'm going to tell you about them. First of all, these earrings, let me see if I can separate them from my hair, were created by Bippy Pins, and so I will be linking them below. They also made this enamel pin, is a little rose in a glass thing that says beauty lies within, and so that's a Beauty and the Beast reference, and y'all know that I love Beauty and the Beast. So their shop will be linked below. Let's start with these so I can put them elsewhere. A bunch of Yonah of the Dawn. They have very pretty manga covers with cool people on them, and I started this last month, so if you want to know what it's about, I'll talk in more detail in last month's wrap up. But basically, this guy did a coup against and took over this princess's country. This is her bodyguard, and now her and him and a little troop are running around the country trying to both take care of the country at the same time as keeping her safe, because like she's on the run because she's the heir to a country that's been taken over. It's got bodyguard tropes, obviously, princess. It's fantasy because part of the little troop are these dragons who have inherited magical traits from 4 dragons who were bonded to a crimson dragon who the main princess is the reincarnation of, basically. So it's a lot of fun. Things are progressing. I really like all the characters and all their interactions. I really like the themes of wanting to take care of a country even while you yourself are on the run, and still feeling a responsibility even though this princess has been dethroned. That's really cool, as well as complicated feelings towards the person who ran the coup because he was a childhood friend of the main character. And I think there are 35 books in the series and my library has up through 30, so I'm going to be reading these for a while, so you'll probably keep seeing them. If I reach the end of the series, if I'm able to reach the end of the series, I might do like a whole video just about it, but we will see if it comes to a conclusion or if I have to wait for the next ones to be translated, which is a possibility. So yeah, manga are very long series often. The only one I've ever come to the end of was 25 volumes, and that was Kami-sama Kiss. Then the other physical books that I have here are Show Us Who You Are by Elle McNichol. I briefly spoke about this in my Autistic Girl Recommends Autistic Books video. There's a train track. And there's a train on it, and they have to honk every time they cross a road. Multiple times every time they cross a road, and there's 2 railroad crossings. No, there's about 3 railroad crossings really close to where I live, so they have to beep at least 6 times. It is set in the slight future where holograms are better than they are currently, and AI is better than it is currently. So there's this company called Pomegranate who is making holograms of famous people so that regular people can pay to meet them, and also holograms of dead people so that their families can meet them after they're dead, which, yes, is creepy, and that's kind of the point of the book, how creepy that is. And they want to interview the main character who is autistic because they want to understand neurodivergent brains better, supposedly so that they can recreate them better in their holograms. But something suspicious is going on, and also a best friend of the main character who has ADHD who is connected to this company because his dad runs it, and his thoughts on the company, and also just fun 2 different neurodivergent people interacting and how nice that is. It is own voices for the autism rep. I really like the author's other book, A Kind of Spark, and there are a lot of themes of grief in this book, and the author has talked about how while she was writing this book during lockdown, one of her friends died, and she poured a lot of those feelings into this book, and I feel like you can definitely see that. So it was very raw and very emotionally powerful, and also very personal. So I really liked all of those elements. Highly recommend if you'd like near future sci-fi with autism rep and ADHD rep. She doesn't have ADHD, but she has, her partner, I believe, has ADHD. Third one is The Girl in the Steel Corset, which I heard about from Renee of Librarian of Alexandria, and it was quite good. I really enjoyed it. It's steampunk, and I don't read a lot of steampunk, but I would like to read more of it. It's a really fun genre. I really like the imagery and the outfits and the cool technology that's like sci-fi technology in some ways, but is also like historical technology in other ways because it relies on steam power. So it's really fun to see that kind of technology interact with a historical premise, because all of the steampunk I've read thus far has been in Victorian era and has featured Queen Victoria. So that's fun. This is about basically a group of, maybe along the lines of X-Men, which I haven't seen, I've only heard about, mutant type people who have superpowers because they've been exposed to this magical slash sci-fi compound organism thing. So maybe a bit hulkish, but they don't turn into big green things or even weird looking things. They look normal. They just have superpowers, mostly super strength and super speed, and a little bit of telekinesis and connecting to the spirit world type stuff. And it is about them coming up against a villain who creates automatons, and is in the process of possibly creating actual AI, but evil AI and evil automatons who are like committing mysterious crimes and apparently have a grudge against some of our super powered people. Band of misfits coming together because of their superpowers to fight evil, basically, and but in a steampunk type way, and it was a lot of fun. It was 470 pages, but I read it in about 4 days, so it's a fairly quick read. It's fast-paced and doesn't like bog you down. Then for the disability readathon, I read Planet Earth is Blue right at the beginning of the month. This is about an autistic girl who has recently been separated from her sister. She's in the foster care system and has fortunately, at the time of the beginning of the story, has landed in a really nice foster family, which I really appreciated representation of, because a lot of, like in movies and TV shows and books as well, the foster care system is shown as a really bad thing where all the foster care families are bad people. So it's nice to see a good foster care family. That aspect of it actually made me cry, even though there's a lot of emotional stuff about autism rep. It was the foster family rep that made me cry. But this is set back in the 80s, like 84 I think, whenever the Challenger was scheduled to go up. And it's about this little autistic girl waiting for the Challenger to launch because she has a special interest in space, and specifically in going to space, spaceships and things like that. She's waiting for this partially because she wants to see it, and partially because her sister promised to come back to her and see her again when it launched. So she's looking forward to seeing her sister on the day of the Challenger launch. And somewhat naively, I guess, because I know people watched the space launches in general, I didn't realize that a bunch of school children were watching the Challenger go up, because the Challenger, not really a spoiler because it's a historical fact, blew up a few seconds after launching and traumatized a bunch of grade school children who were watching it on TV during class. When we were in DC, my family went and saw the memorial for the Challenger, so I was like aware of that, but I didn't know that a bunch of kids were watching it. So there's a lot of sadness in this book, but also a lot of joy and love, and so that was really meaningful to me. Oh, and also the autistic girl is nonverbal. Is that the right word? She's non-speaking. She can read a little bit, but not very much. because you have to practice reading, and she hasn't really been given the opportunity to do that. She's been classified as the R word and various other things and not been given a lot of teaching throughout her life, because this is the 80s. So the school system was pretty terrible with neurodivergent people, even worse than it is now. And the author is autistic, but not non-speaking. So she like has part of, it's somewhat own voices, but I would like to see more books by non-speaking autistic people because they can write books. Then more for the disability readathon, Stormrunner. I was basically just looking through my Libby app, I think is what it's called, so the audiobook program for my library, and was like, just typed in disability and was like trying to find some more books with that, because I had run out of any that I had like found through recommendations. I had either already read them or they were the wait list. So I found the Stormrunner, and it is about the main character has legs that are different lengths, so he has a limp and uses a cane to walk. So that was cool to see. It also has Latinx representation. It's actually kind of a cross between this book and the Percy Jackson series. This is a Rick Riordan Presents book, so I was excited because of that. Those have a really good representation, not representation, reputation as far as I'm concerned, from what I've read from them before. And so this reminded me a lot of the Percy Jackson book that I have read, the first one, in that it kind of is a journey where you go physically from place to place, and as you do that, you're passing through visiting various gods from this pantheon, which in this case is the Mayan pantheon, or the Mayan mythos, rather than the Greek pantheon, which it is in Percy Jackson. But I really enjoyed that. It was very middle grade-ish. There are sort of two main characters after this main character named Jace, I think. He makes a friend with a shapeshifter who is a girl, and once again I like seeing that relationship and that dichotomy between two main characters, and I really like their relationship. It was really interesting, and they both had different and interesting backgrounds, and it was just really fun to see this different mythos explored in a very Percy Jackson kind of way, which is a really enjoyable format. Then also Insignificant Events in the Life of a Cactus, which I found the same way by typing up disability and trying to find an audiobook, because I was very into audiobooks because I bought an extension for The Sims, expansion pack, that's what they're called. And so I was like really into it again, and so I had lots of hours that I wanted to play video games and listen to audiobooks. So the Stormrunner was about 7 hours in audiobook, and Insignificant Events was about 4 hours, so quite short. And Insignificant Events is about a girl who was born with no arms. She has legs, just no arms, and it took me a while to figure out, but it's called what it is because the main character played a cactus in a school play once, and there's some imagery surrounding that. But it's about her and her adoptive family moving into a new place with a new school because her father was out of work, and this new theme park in a totally different place has decided to hire him. So it's a lot about her navigating a new school, because at her old school she'd been there since she was a little kid, and all the kids had grown up with her and they were totally used to her not having arms. So at this new school, people treat her really weirdly because they're not used to it and are quite ableist, and so she finds some other ostracized people and makes friends with them, and I really appreciate that. And this is Own Voices disability rep. The author has no arms. There is a secondary character who has Tourette's, and I don't think that part is Own Voices, but it was good to see still. It was really interesting and informative because I really didn't know how Tourette's worked before. and there's some mystery solving going on and some hanging out at the theme park and figuring out how to draw people into it going on, and it was just very enjoyable. Then there's Model Misfit, the second book in the Geek Girl series, which is about a girl who has been labeled a geek by her school, suddenly falling into a modeling job because of how she looks and the way she kind of stands and holds herself. In a interesting and weird kind of way. And the last one, she got to go to Russia to do modeling work, and now she's in Tokyo, and there's a lot of cool descriptions of dresses and modeling fun. And this one was a little bit painful to read because everything kept going wrong, and that's kind of the point of the book. And we also had a somewhat unreliable narrator on certain aspects, and that was annoying. But overall, I really liked the ending and how things resolved, and getting to make new friends and enjoy Tokyo. Then Wild Rain is a book that is set in the same town as Tempest, which is one of my favorite books by Beverly Jenkins. It's a romance, and it is featuring the sister-in-law of the main character of Tempest. And it was just really a lot of fun. I really liked Spring is her name from Tempest, and seeing her in that one. She's a really cool lady, and her getting her own book was really nice, as well as getting to see the old characters. As usual, Beverly Jenkins' work tends to explore racism and sexism and various specific historical issues that were big during the times that she's writing about, and I enjoyed that. And this is a character in a romance who doesn't want kids at the beginning of the book and still doesn't want kids at the end of the book, and doesn't have that violated, and I really appreciate that. Then I got another audiobook from NetGalley, and I really enjoyed that one. It's called Women Don't Owe You Pretty. It was a really good book, a very introductory book, but it's nice sometimes to just wash your brain with feminism. And even though the author is white, she took a lot of care to acknowledge her privilege and to put forward how feminists need to care about LGBTQIA+ rights and Black people's rights and other people of color's rights. And how we need to be aware of our privilege and shut up when other people are trying to talk. Other more marginalized people are trying to talk. And it was just quite nice to listen to that in a nonfiction format, go over it all again and like reinforce the stuff that I already know, but that is always good to be reminded of. And that is all I have here. I love to know what you've been reading so far this month. If you've read any of these books, what are your thoughts? How about something purple for today's emoji? Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!